Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
We made this.
Welcome back, everyone, to We Are Starfleet, a podcast dedicated to Star Trek Discovery. I'm your host, Mike Slammer, and with me, as always, is Ian Buckley.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I am well, sir. Thank you. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
To you as well, and to everyone listening.
Yes. Is this a Christmas episode, or are we doing a themed thing?
I don't think so, but we certainly did get a gift with this episode.
Hey-yo! Everybody loves presents, especially when they're Star Trek related.
Absolutely. I got a couple this year, as I do almost every year. The people in my life know me well.
What'd you get? Would you get, like Spock socks?
Oh, you know, just little kitschy stuff. I'm always good to, it's always good to get little Star Trek related things.
Very nice. My mom got me a little coffee table book that I really like.
Oh, fantastic.
It's just artwork from over the years of Star Trek.
Excellent. Yeah, I've got some ornaments too hanging up.
Oh, nice. Did you get any of those big Hallmark goodies?
I got a few of them the last time I was at Dragon Con. There was a vendor selling a whole bunch of old keepsake, Hallmark Star Trek ornaments. So I bought probably about 5 of them. I've got a Bird of Prey, Cisco. I've got a Deep Space Nine. It's a lot of fun.
That's cool. I
don't have a tree topper. That might be a bridge too far. I think those go for north of $100.
Yeah, those are something else. I've got a few little. I've got a little Enterprise. I've got a little Bird of Prey,
nice.
And a little DS9 ornament. Hidden throughout the tree. There, it's fun.
Terrific.
Yeah. So, man. Episode 11, Su'Kal, aired December 24, 2020, Christmas Eve here in the United States. Written by Anne Kofel Saunders and directed by Norma Bailey. What did you think?
Really solid episode. Might have been the best of the season for me. Certainly felt paced the best. This really moved from beginning to end, kept me invested, kept me engaged. The tension built naturally. Had me worrying about characters that, typically we watch these episodes and we're like, these characters are going to be fine. But the stakes felt very well established and real in this episode for these characters. So it was a really solid one. I hope it continues into the next week with the cliffhanger we got at the end of this one.
Oh yes, I loved this episode. So much to take away from it, and finally we got the cause of the burn, right?
Yeah, and they're speak of being efficient. They're seemingly we're warping right ahead to the end of the Emerald Chain. We're getting the confrontation with Osira in this episode, and we found out what caused the burn.
Yeah. I'd say this episode really does a great job of setting up the final act of the season in a fairly compelling manner. Although I will say I am pretty uninterested in Osira as a compelling villain. And, I want to preface and say, it's nice that the big bad this season isn't some galaxy-ending universal threat, even if the Federation is, quote-unquote, at stake, right? But ultimately, excellent building on the story, excellent building towards the burn, and finally we get a solution, so everybody can finally just kind of sit back and be like, okay, here's the cause, now how do we go about getting a solution?
I'm sure they'll expand and clarify on it in the coming episode, but the mystery, at least the big mystery, is over for now.
Yeah, I was a little worried that they would give us the cause of the burn in like the last 20 minutes of the finale. So
yeah,
I'm glad that didn't
yeah.
happen.
No, I'm glad that didn't happen too. Yeah, it's good that they're not dragging it out. It speaks to the pacing, not just of the episode being good, but of the season.
Sure. And also excellent building on the ensemble dynamic that is so close to Star Trek's heart and soul. It felt like everyone had a good amount of screen time in what could very easily have been a very busy and overblown episode.
Yeah, it felt balanced. Each of the crew, maybe with one or two notable exceptions, felt like they got their time to shine, and I think that'll continue into next episode. It seems like the gang's all getting involved, and it was good to have another episode that wasn't so Michael centric. It really was another episode that highlighted the crew as a whole, at least the main cast crew.
Yes. So let's jump in and see what people are saying over on the social medias. Our fellow We Made This creator, Luke Winch, at Luke_Winch on Twitter, says, hands down my favorite episode of the season. When Tilly sat on the captain's chair, it was genuinely moving. She was awesome this episode. Finally, Tilly getting to show her teeth as a potential captain.
Yeah, that was really good to see. I know we talked back and forth a little bit about whether or not promoting Tilly to EXO made the most sense in universe, and we'll get into it when we get into our deep dive. But sure. It was good to see that she at least could rise to the occasion. Even if she made some very understandable mistakes along the way.
That remains to be seen.
Yeah. Atticus Bluebird over on Reddit said, I guess this is our inaugural holodeck malfunction episode for Discovery. And this, we don't know a lot about the Kiath, but this could be one of those, it would have been a 31st or 30th century ship, but could be one of those ships with really substantial holographic infrastructure throughout.
Yes.
This could be a completely different kind of ship from what we're used to seeing, which kind of goes to explaining the strange environment that Burnham and the gang find themselves in.
Yes. It harkened back to Star Trek Insurrection, where the crux of that plot was the bad guys using a holodeck, basically an entire ship that would be a holodeck, and they were going to bus all the inhabitants of the planet off the planet on this holodeck recreation of the planet, so they could, get rid of them and take over the planet and everything. So it reminded me a little bit of that, when they were exploring the ship a little bit and going from, I guess, program to program. And it really made me think about how large this vessel could possibly be.
Yeah, exactly. We don't really have a sense of it. Certainly, it's fitting that it is an episode that a couple of people commenting online said was reminiscent of a Doctor Who episode, because this ship certainly seems larger on the inside than on the outside.
Yes. When Tilly pulls up the graphic of the dilithium planet, there is a very large impact crater. It could be. I don't know. It's not specifically stated.
Right.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
On Reddit, I also saw in the Star Trek thread there, user Richard Ying says, more new uniforms for cosplayers.
Yes. Always good to have more matter for cosplayers to deal with.
Now, what exactly is it about Star Trek uniforms in particular? They're just always so sleek.
Yeah, that's true. There have been ones that did and didn't work to different extents, but they clearly know what they're doing when they're designing these.
Mm-hmm.
Uncertain Error over on Reddit said, I did not expect Osiris' ship to go all Cthulhu at the end. A lot of tentacles. It pointed out also that at least originally Discovery was supposed to air before Lower Decks, so the finale of Lower Decks with the pack-led tentacles grabbing onto this ship would have been very reminiscent of this episode,
right?
If we'd seen it as originally aired. As it was, it seemed like this was referencing Lower Decks when actually it was the other way around. But a lot of people noticed that online. That was a fun thing to see. It was, you could see it clear as day. Well, like once it happens these tentacles coming out of Osira's ship were grabbing the Discovery, it was like, oh yeah, that's exactly what happens with the Packleads in Lower Decks.
It was a great moment. So do you have anything else, or shall we jump right in?
Let's get into it.
Let's do it, man. So last week I want to point out that you and I really did not like that final scene in the mess hall where they were giving Georgiou a little memorial service.
Yeah, no, super
and
dumb.
this episode opens up right at that memorial, and I guess maybe if they had ended the previous episode with Adira receiving the transmission that the data has been processed, that could have been a little bit more compelling. Like, hey, Georgiou is gone. We're having this nice memorial. Let's get right back to our actual mission, right? But instead, we open this episode with that scene. And I guess I like it a little bit more in context.
It's okay. It does give Stamets and Adira more opportunities to bond, which are always very rewarding. They have been throughout the season. But it does raise that question of he's essentially letting Adira know that they are part of this crew and this family, and that they can lean on others in times of grief. And Adira doesn't give a crap about Georgiou. Like she doesn't care. She doesn't need to lean on anyone because she's sad about Georgiou. She didn't know Georgiou. But that's the context that they provide for the scene. And in that context, this opportunity that Stamets takes to let Adira know that they're part of a family, that was a good moment, and I'm glad that they took the opportunity there. And it's also the moment that Gray picks to reappear.
Yes.
He lets Adira know that they can lean on him as well, even though he's been missing in action for the last couple of weeks. He's been off reckoning with being whatever it is he is now, this sort of incorporeal existence, unable to be seen by or interact with anyone besides Adira. It's a little unclear what Gray means by going away.
Right?
Like if he's real, does he have a range? Can he only go a certain distance away from Adira? I'm hoping that they take the opportunity to explore this a little bit more, because it doesn't really seem to be going anywhere yet.
Right. It's a little bit of a bummer to me because I feel like the Adira-Gray dynamic started out so well when they introduced them. Mm-hmm. And at this point, now that Gray has been out of the picture for so long, I'm just not at all interested in the character anymore. I feel like there needs to be a purposefully done moment for both Gray and Adira to reconcile, as you said, and figure out like, hey, where did you go and why does this even matter? Because for me as a viewer, I'm not invested.
Yeah. And there were moments when Gray has this scene with Adira and it appears on screen later in the episode, but doesn't do or say anything.
Yeah.
There's even notable moments where Gray is framed in the scene. Later in the episode at the end, Adira turns to Jet and says, "Hey, I've got a plan. Give me your comm badge." Mm-hmm. And Gray is in the frame. And I thought, oh, cool. Maybe her plan involves Gray somehow. Nope, not at all.
Yeah. Although it's Gray's idea, whatever it is, right? So I guess it remains to be seen.
Yeah.
Great views of the Discovery next to the nebula as the Discovery jumps to the Veruba Nebula. Beautiful shot. And, I'm a sucker for starships. So the close-ups we got of the Discovery in this episode are pure eye candy for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, visually this episode the whole season continues to be, one standout moment after another. Again, have to shout out the VFX team who were working under extraordinary COVID circumstances this year. They did such a good job. Everything just looks great.
They nailed it. I actually, real quick sidebar. I don't want to get too far off on a tangent, but we watched Wonder Woman 84 over the weekend, and the VFX in that film were less than spectacular. And
that's so disappointing.
Yeah, and I couldn't help but think about, like we're here on our podcast and we analyze, Discovery, and we know that the VFX editors have been working at home, limited resources, and they've been able to do such a great job. And I'm thinking to myself, how can this movie, this blockbuster film, not raised to the same level. So shout out CBS, man. You guys are killing it.
Yeah, really, really have brought their A game. It gives the whole show a cinematic feel in a way that really no other Star Trek show has had.
Watching it on widescreen is beautiful.
Yeah.
So Book getting in and out of the nebula with the ship was a very cool sequence. Since we're talking about the visual effects here, I want to know more about what kind of ship he has.
Yeah, his ship is really cool. It's, it seems like the entire ship is an extension of the kind of programmable matter technology that we've seen throughout this 32nd century future. And, we've seen it shift around in that episode Scavengers, and we've seen it in action, but seeing it yet again here, clear that it can, morph into different shapes to get around tight spots. It's a pretty cool concept for a ship.
It really is.
So after this opening scene, Data, it concludes with Data finally coming in from the Kiev, and shockingly a life sign has been detected on board.
Gasp.
Saru reveals to the crew that Dr. Issa was not actually suffering from radiation damage, although doubtlessly she eventually did, in that message that they got from her, but she was actually pregnant. And that life sign is likely somehow her child, who's survived somehow after all this time. Really don't quite understand why Saru would keep that information to himself until now.
Yeah.
It seems like the kind of thing that's only being played close to the vest for a dramatic reveal at a time like this, and I don't really buy it.
Yeah,
but whatever.
Yeah. I think it speaks to this whole dynamic that they've introduced, where Captain Saru is a little bit more emotional and distracted surrounding the Kelpian cause and the Kelpians having grown to be a part of the Federation and all that entails. We still don't really know enough about it to feel like Saru is that actually distracted. But
yeah, it's a little strange that he wouldn't immediately. There's just no reason other than saving this reveal to greater dramatic effect.
Right.
There's just no reason why he would hold on to that information. None.
Right. So
it doesn't affect anything.
It really doesn't. So they know that there's a pregnancy and that there's a life sign. So we have to. This is what the Federation does best, right? We jump right to the situation. Discovery uses the spore drive to get directly to the crash site inside the nebula. However, the nebula is just a mass of radiation, like this terrible ionizing radiation, and it's just destroying their shields. They can't get in. And right away, shields are up, but they immediately start to fail. And you have Book. He comes up and he's like, "Hey, listen, I can get in here. I can figure this out. Let me be helpful. Let me be helpful." And it cuts to Captain Saru, and he's clearly distracted and in thought about how to resolve this. And it takes him enough of a moment to the point where Commander Burnham looks around and is clearly concerned.
Yeah, she's concerned because Saru seems very single-mindedly determined to get to that life form.
Yes.
To the detriment potentially of the rest of the crew and the ship. And so, yeah, he relents when Book volunteers to use his much smaller and more nimble ship to scout ahead. Discovery jumps back out of the nebula to safety. Book goes scouting inside, and like you were mentioning earlier, we get this cool sequence where this nimble little ship is navigating deeper and deeper into the nebula as Disco waits outside. But even his ship can't withstand the onslaught of this radiation, and we see him start to suffer negative effects pretty soon. He's bleeding from the nose. His ship is constantly reminding his ship is constantly reminding him, like, "Hey, buddy, you're gonna die. This is a bad situation," and it's really tense. I mentioned earlier that one of the things that I thought this episode does well is build tension even around the fates of characters who are part of the main cast, where usually those moments feel a little bit hollow because we know they're parts of the main cast. They're probably not going to die. They're probably going to be fine. But I don't know, man. Even on the second watch, I was feeling the tension in this scene when he's suffering the effects of the radiation. I was like, oh no, I hope Buck makes it.
Right.
Kudos to the writing and the directing for making us really feel that tension in these scenes.
Yeah, and a lot of these moments are set up to portray to the audience the stakes of the situation. So we know that this is a very serious radiation problem. We know that the Discovery herself can't get there. Book's very cool 32nd century morphing combat ship can't get in and out without also hurting Book. So we have these crew members who can't get to this planet that's apparently, the cause of the burn, and there's a life sign. We cannot get to the life sign. How do we solve it?
Yeah, Book manages to get through all this mess of ionizing radiation, these dense clouds in this nebula, and does find a planet at the center of this nebula.
Yes.
He finds that the ship has crashed there, and he finds a little pocket of the nebula where Disco should be able to jump in relative safety, because nothing is safe inside this nebula. Not only has the Kiosk crashed into this planet, but the planet itself is apparently suffused with dilithium.
Yes.
They found a dilithium planet.
It is. If it were any type of cartoon show, there would be dollar signs in everyone's eyes.
Yeah, Admiral Vance is as happy about this as he seems to be about anything.
Yes. Oh, man, I can't wait to talk about this. So we have Admiral Vance coming on via the holographic projectors, and he is the very definition of cautiously optimistic about the discovery of all of this dilithium as a resource for the Federation. He knows that they need this. He knows that this is it. This can really turn the tide in their favor.
Yeah. I mean, any of the existing powers in the 32nd century would love to learn of this planet's existence, and the Federation in particular, he says, could really use this good news right around now. And he is a little wary of the decision by Saru, a very 23rd century decision to personally lead the rescue mission down to the dilithium planet and leave Tilly in charge of Discovery. But, barring a few moments of contemplative silence that I'm sure were chilling for Tilly, he goes along with the decision without further objection, and lets Saru know that unfortunately the Emerald Chain's maneuvers that they were worried about a few episodes ago have begun, and unfortunately are being done in the vicinity of Kaminar. So the Federation is mobilizing half the fleet to respond to this threat, but he's telling Disco that they should steer clear lest this be a trap for them set by Osira.
Right. Osira had manipulated Book's brother Kahim to get Book to go to Kwaijan, his home planet. So it's a very similar strategy.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere, and each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Playing out here with Osira trying to bait the Discovery and Captain Saru back to Kaminar. So, for all intents and purposes, the safest move is to stay where you are.
Yeah, exactly.
And in a interesting plot device here, Starfleet has been sent to Kaminar to help protect Kaminar as the Emerald Chain is making their moves, right? So now we know the setup.
Yeah, exactly.
The fleet is not at home.
At least half of it isn't.
At least. Once again, I am really digging this Admiral played by Oded Fehr. He is one of the best recurring guest stars we've had on a series of Star Trek thus far. And, I kind of wish he was a more permanent fixture on the ship, but I'm good with it. I'm really liking it.
Yeah, maybe he will be, well, not necessarily on the ship, but on the show in season 4. We'll see how the rest of this one plays out.
I hope so.
So Stamets back in sick bay. Book has finished recovering, and he has a scene here once he passes Grudge off to the doctor, where where he and Michael are having a conversation about Saru's ability to be objective on this mission. Michael is expressing doubt in Saru's ability to remain objective and to make a hard call. I gotta be honest, this through line is probably my least favorite part of the episode.
I mean, who the hell does she think she is?
I mean, of all people, to go on about what it means to be a captain. It's a little.
Can he make the hard choice? Can he make the hard choice? Can he do it? It's like, who are you talking?
Yeah, and you mean like we've seen him do multiple times? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's also just not ideal coming from her.
It's like,
and it doesn't.
How much of Mira Georgiou has rubbed off on you to the point where now you're planting the seeds of subversion for your own captain?
Yeah,
come on.
I hope the writers aren't setting up some sort of fall for grace for Saru. It doesn't feel.
I know.
It doesn't feel earned. They built up his captaincy very organically, and any sort of effort, all these sorts of efforts to cast doubt on his abilities, just I don't know. They just kind of don't pass the smell test for me.
It works for me that Admiral Vance would be questioning of Captain Saru. That is reasonable, but for Burnham, nah.
Yeah, it just doesn't. It just rings a little hollow.
Yeah. Burnham is there with Book, and ultimately, she hopes that whatever answers they find on this planet, on the ship, are gonna be good enough, and she's afraid that it's not gonna happen. So this kind of sets up this tension, right?
Yeah.
Throughout the rest of the episode. And along with that, we move over to engineering, and you have Stamets and Culber having a nice little discussion, and by nice, I mean it's very fraught with tension and a little bit of sadness and possibly regret. Stamets does not want Culber to go.
Yeah, no, he is very, very, very clear with Culber. A lot of strong hand acting here too. That Culber is under no circumstances. He is forbidding Culber to go on this away mission. It's too dangerous, even with radiation meds. And Hugh kind of lays down that, hey, look, I got a fresh start in this 32nd century, and I found new purpose in life, and part of that purpose is going on dangerous missions and doing my goddamn job.
Exactly.
He can help Saru, and he hopes that he can help this life form who's been living in isolation for so long.
Yeah, I started to get some red alerts going because this was all starting to sound very Last Goodbye-ish.
Oh, I hope they aren't going that direction. I don't think they will, but I could see where you'd feel that way. I think it's really coming. It's Culber continuing to come into his own as a character who was, at the beginning of last season, seemingly non-existent anymore. And then by the end of last season, he had made the decision to stay with Enterprise, but Enterprise Disco. But it was not an easy one. It was a very difficult decision. And now, Culber's continued to, throughout the season, come into his own as a character and decide who he is and who he wants to be. And this is the next process, the next step in that evolution.
He's really shining in this role.
He's been great this season. I really like Culber this season. He's one of my favorite characters for sure.
Yeah, Wilson Cruz is acting the hell out of it. Yeah. So now we proceed over to Tilly and Burnham's quarters. And there's a little bit of a pep talk here. I gotta say, I really liked this scene.
Yeah, I dug this scene a lot.
There's a little bit of, hey, not only am I your friend and your mentor, but I've got the command experience. I know what you're going through. Really, really shows how good of an actress both of these people are, Mary Wiseman and Sonequa Martin Green, because it's a very real moment between two colleagues and friends.
Yeah, for sure. Michael sits her down and gives her some real practical, much needed talking to about, hey, this is a crazy situation we're in. And it does, raise the question of whether Tilly taking the con for the very first time during a crisis like this is the best situation to put her in. But it is the situation that they've put her in. So she's going to have to rise to the occasion, and Michael gives her some help.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of fun that they mentioned that there's this little metal burr underneath the captain's chair, on the left armrest. When the camera actually pans to it, when Tilly takes the seat, it's, if you've ever put together IKEA furniture, you know exactly what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So on the bridge, Saru and the gang prepare to transport down. We're given our ticking clock now. We learn that radiation will force the crew to return to sickbay within 4 hours. And we're told that the shields, even here in this little pocket, are dropping rapidly. They drop from 35 to 30 in like 2 seconds. I mean, it takes Tilly another 30 to order Black Alert, but
yes. So, a little bit of a goodbye. Hey, don't forget to take your anti-rad meds. You've got some boosters. You have no more than 4 hours before you have to be back on the ship. So we've got a ticking clock that's counting down.
Yes,
right?
indeed.
So Tilly reports that the shields will be repaired in that time, and then we can jump back to that stable pocket, beam up the away team with the life sign, hopefully, and we will have saved the day.
Yes. They're hoping to be back to beam them up within a few hours.
It's so funny, like, to be a person, an audience member watching and hearing all these things and hearing like, so you have 4 hours of time before you will succumb to your radiation and possibly die. And you have 3 hours before the ship's shields will be repaired enough so that they can jump back and save you. That is a setup.
Yep. So Michael and the gang beam down. And immediately they find themselves in a forest environment, seemingly. Not at all where they expected to be.
Nope.
And with no sign of the radiation meds they brought with them or of Saru immediately. Michael beams in and she finds Culber, and they recognize that each other's appearances have changed. Michael appears Trill, and Culber appears Bajoran. And they turn around and we get a great reveal that Doug Jones is finally out of his makeup. He appears as himself. What a great idea. I love that they didn't.
Yeah.
And I did watch as I usually do, I do watch the teaser for the coming episode. I'm so glad they didn't spoil that for us. They did give us a little bit of a clue when they did show the Bajoran nose ridges on Culber in the preview. So they sort of laid the breadcrumbs down. But man, I'm glad they didn't spoil that reveal. How fun.
Wow. Yeah, I had, like I said, I watched this episode, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I had a very hard time containing my excitement.
Yeah, it was great.
It was just such a cool moment. It's such a cool moment. So they beam down, they figure out that they are on a holodeck, an advanced, and shout out to Michael Burnham here. You have a very classic Star Trek line. She says, "We must be on some kind of advanced holoprogram." And I just love that, because in every episode of Star Trek Voyager, you got Harry Kim going, "It must be some kind of."
Yeah. Some kind of is a well-worn Trek trope.
Oh, I love it. It's these little notes that remind you of where you are in the universe.
Yeah, and as you said, where they are in the universe is this glitching, breaking down holographic environment. They stumble upon a holographic educator of some sort. These are the first signs that the ship and its systems are breaking down after all these years being bombarded by radiation and, being in close proximity to all this massive quantity of dilithium. So the trio continues to explore their crumbling holographic environment. It's creepy. They're walking around this crumbling step well, which used to be this old aqueduct, irrigation system that's clearly broken down. As
very
so
much reminded me. It very much reminded me of an M.C. Escher painting.
Yeah, exactly.
It was beautiful design. Really liked the way that the lighting cast across all the stage and the set that they were on. Really cleverly done, in my opinion.
Yeah, the whole environment's pretty wacky too. There's flying space whales. It's nuts. And they discover this locked door, not at all ominous. It's covered in chains and barred, and in front of it there's these small stone totems that appear to have been assembled ritualistically, perhaps by the Kelpian that they find.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Right? Yeah. So interesting here. We have a Kelpian who is, he's young. He's very clearly rattled about seeing these newcomers, and he thinks that they are a part of the holoprogram.
Yeah, he's a very spry 120-year-old Kelpian. It does raise some questions about the Kelpian lifespan, which, we've never had the opportunity to explore because, Saru's like, well, nobody lives past basically 30.
Right.
It's like the Bowl have been Logan's running the population of Kaminar for, ever, as far as Saru's concerned. So he's not really given us any insight into how long we can expect Kelpians to live if they're allowed to. So yeah, he looks to be in pretty good shape for someone who's 120. Maybe the radiation has had anti-aging properties. Who knows?
Right. There is so much that we need to learn more about this young or old Kelpian, depending on your point of view here, right?
Right.
It certainly does seem as though that this Kelpian has not yet undergone Baharai.
No. Interestingly, it's a very strange Kelpian because he's clearly being raised in this environment by himself and doesn't have the social skills of an adult. He's clearly childlike in his understanding of the world and his ability to interact with it. But he's not aged in the way that we would typically expect a Kelpian to, even though we don't know that much about how Kelpians age. But yeah, you're right. He doesn't seem to be past adolescence or Kelpian adolescence. So yeah, we'll presumably learn more next week about him and what makes him unique.
Indeed. So as they proceed through here, the door with the chains on it begins to rattle. And that's when the Kelpian that we meet, he runs away. He's like, I'm getting the hell out of here. You've awoken the monster. I got to get out of here.
Yeah, as soon as they introduce themselves as not being part of the program, the door starts to jolt violently. And then each time they mention being from the outside world, it crashes. And until it finally crashes open and the Kelpian cries that they've released the monster and he runs away.
Right. Dr. Kolber very correctly assumes that the monster is part of the hologram program, while at the same time, Burnham definitely notes that if the Kelpian, does the Kelpian even know that the outside world exists? Does it know what happened? Does it know where it is? Kolber suggests, like, hey, listen, very clearly he's being educated by this holoprogram. He doesn't have the social skills. He's got the mind of a child. We need to proceed carefully. So Saru and Culber leave to figure out where does the survivor go. We need to find them and learn more about where they are. While Burnham decides to say, hey, listen, I'm going to make sure that whatever this creature is doesn't actually attack anybody. You know, let me find out more information about what's going on right here. So they split up. In my opinion, it's never a good idea to split up.
Probably not. I think, you know, I can sort of understand here. They know that the Kelpian is the only actual life sign, so they sort of go on the assumption that whatever's in there behind that door isn't really going to be a threat. I don't know that that's the best assumption in the world to make, since we've seen plenty of malfunctioning holodecks with safety protocols removed and how those can be really threatening to anyone inside. But they also, you know, something to keep in mind, they don't have nearly as much experience with this kind of technology as even like 24th century crews that we've seen would.
That's true.
So I can forgive them a little bit of naivete when it comes to how dangerous holograms can really be.
I mean, as we have learned in Lower Decks, and this is another reference, right, where Discovery was supposed to air first, and here is this great, vast training program designed for the Kelpian. And in Lower Decks, you have Ensign Rutherford, who designed a training program that went a little crazy as well. Can I teach you a lesson? So back aboard the Discovery, we have jumped outside the nebula, right? And inside engineering, you've got these shield generators. They're too damaged. They can't get them back online. It's a very stressful moment. They have a comm line open to the away team, and they can hear Burnham, Saru, and Culber, and they can hear finding, you know, that they found something, they found someone, and they hear this growling and these noises, but the away team cannot be actually reached. They're only listening. So Stamets is very clearly distressed, right? Meanwhile, Tilly orders Stamets, hey, take all the power you need to repair the shields. We need to get back to the away team so we can rescue them. And when this happens, our girl Awashikan reports that a ship is approaching. It is Federation, and they aren't responding to hails, but they are sending out the proper, what do you call it, the response codes.
Yes, exactly. It's a bit suspicious. It's not answering hails.
Mm-hmm. It's never a good sign when your friends aren't saying hello back to you.
Right. Yeah, they're about 10 minutes out, and then apparently we're just going to sit and wait and see what happens.
Oh, I don't know, Tilly. I'm not sure that's a great idea.
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
Sure. Back down
on the Kieth, Culber and Saru are encountering more holograms. This time a Vulcan hologram, from whom they learned that the program has actually altered their appearances. Since the Kelpian will have not encountered other sentient beings before. I'm not entirely clear why they would have changed the appearance of people who appear in the program. Like, there's humans and Kelpians in the program. I don't know why changing them away from appearing like those species would make sense. I mean, he's seen Kelpians, he's seen humans and you know, Vulcans, maybe Bajorans. But it could just be another way that the program's malfunctioning.
That's true. We do learn here a little bit about the day that Kaminar has joined the Federation. There's a whole holodeck program, which is what the Vulcan is a part of as well. A little bit of a shout out here that the Kelpians and the Baul, who, you know, previously they've been at war for so long, they seem to have come to form an alliance. And that is a callback to a Star Trek Next Generation episode where they actually declined a planet from joining the Federation because the entire planet needs to be in agreement. Like, if you have multiple races and multiple nations, you all need to agree, like, hey, yes, we want to join the Federation. So it seems that it took a while for Kaminar as a whole to come and join inside the fold.
Yeah, and you get a little bit of a reference from the elder that we meet later about that his purpose as an educator is to educate the child not just about Kelpian history but also about the Baul. So it's clear that whatever this future society in Kaminar is, it is a more integrated one.
So meanwhile, you have Burnham, who's off on her own, and she's trying to figure out what is up with this monster. Who is it? What is it? She's got a little bit of a like a rock as a defense mechanism, and she walks into this space. Yeah, I know. It's like, what are you going to do with this rock, lady? Come on. Right. So she walks into this space.
She drops it pretty quickly.
She drops it right away, right?
Yeah, she tries diplomacy first.
Here's this monster, and again, love it because I love the space sci-fi horror motif that Discovery sometimes leans into a little bit. It's got this, again, Cthulhu-looking tentacle creature, kind of about the size of a large bear, but floaty, ethereal in some kind of a way, and the creature only seems to grunt and moan and growl.
Yeah, it's a cross between sort of a smoke monster and some sort of Cthulhu tentacled monstrosity. It's a pretty good monster. She tries diplomacy first. It does not seem to work. The creature becomes agitated after a little while and begins to give chase. Burnham runs. It cuts her off, backs her off a ledge, and Burnham falls. But instead of falling down, she flies into the air. This environment is pretty wacky.
Yeah, it seems like there are some safety protocols engaged to ensure that the Kelpian wouldn't be able to criminally hurt himself in any kind of fatal manner.
Yeah, it makes sense. These, sort of more evidence that, there are clearly some safety protocols engaged, so maybe they really are okay, splitting up and they aren't really going to be in any danger here. But yeah, this is the first sign that there are some advanced safety protocols in place to preserve the life of the child as he is raised by himself in this environment.
So back aboard the Discovery, there is a scene here that kind of helps explain quite a few things. First of all, we get a mention of a transwarp tunnel, and that's something that fans have been talking about all season long. Like, what happened to the transwarp tunnels that the Borg had built? So there's a Federation vessel en route to Discovery's location, and very wisely the crew notes, like, hey, listen, there are no Class M planets within 5 light-year radius of our ship. So if it was a stranded ship, from ages ago, it would have sought out a new home, right? Tilly orders Awashakun to scan the area around the ship, and Awashakun discovers that there are these neutrino emissions that make no sense coming from what should be a Federation ship. So, boom, it's Osira. It's not a Federation ship. The reveal is in. It's definitely the bad guys, and they are coming for the Discovery, they're coming for the Spore Drive, and they're going to come for all the dilithium.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing, and now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino-style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere, and each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
And that's on the planet.
Yeah. We learned that the fake Federation ship is 2 minutes away, inbound, and then they decide, hey, you know what? We've just been sitting here for 8 minutes while this thing's been inbound. Now let's do some more scans. That was not one of my favorite decisions of Tilly, but she's new. She's so green. She's so inexperienced. Yeah. I was like, oh. And like the way she figures this out is so clever. I was like, why couldn't you have done this at any point prior to her being right on top of you? And Like, you
Right?
know the situation's weird. Like, just... You've got a cloaking device, which we learn 2 seconds later. Just cloak and jump to the other side of the nebula. Put the nebula between whatever's incoming and you until you know what's what. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, sitting and waiting, I had a hard time accepting that a little bit, and it seemed like a very rookie move,
She is.
which, of course, Tilly is a rookie.
Right. And I want to be very clear, I love Tilly. It's just like, oh my goodness.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Yes, but I liked the fact that we got a name drop at the Transwarp Tunnel. Book says that they're on these courier maps, and they're not used by anyone in their right mind, he says. And I kind of wonder what that means, if they're unstable, if maybe you go through some kind of weird transformation going through them or something.
We don't know
to that
exactly
effect.
why, but I think it's actually the second time they've come up this season. I don't remember which episode they come up first, but there's some mention of, we could use a Transwarp Tunnel, but it's 50-50 whether we'll survive the trip. And so it's like it seems like it's essentially a coin flip if you use these things, because presumably they don't have Borg navigation systems or whatever. Whatever systems are needed to navigate them more safely, most ships don't have. So whether or not you pop out where you're supposed to or at all seems to be a bit of a coin flip, which is why people don't use them.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. We also see here that the Discovery has a cloaking device,
pretty dope.
Which, since the Romulans joined the Federation and they reunited over at Navarre,
Klingons too.
They gave in their technology. That's a good point.
Klingons and Romulans are both part of the Federation, or were part of the Federation before the 32nd century. So this totally tracks. Yeah,
absolutely. Osiris ship, of course, cloaks right as well, and it's a standoff here, and it seems like it's going to be a matter of who's going to shoot first.
Yes, exactly. Pretty tense. Pretty cool. And then we're back down on the Kiev, where Michael wakes up safely to find the Kelpian, sort of looking at her and
leaning
she poses
over her,
as a program so as not to scare him off again.
This was a fun little.
This was really well written, very clever.
Was very amused.
Yeah, this was a very clever scene.
Yeah,
good on Michael and good on. It was Ann Kofel Saunders who wrote this.
Yes.
Yeah, she did a great job with this episode.
She had written one of the previous episodes and
that you did not like.
That I did not like. Yeah. So flip-flop right here.
So Michael tells the program that she is programmed for social interaction to prepare him to interact with others. He seems to think that the outside is all dead, however, since it's been so long since, the program used to talk about the outside world. He figures that since no one has come in all this time, that Michael's an outdated program, obsolete, because there is no outside anymore, so he doesn't need to learn how to interact with it.
Yeah. Su'Kal gets pretty distressed, and he kind of books it out of there. And as he does, Burnham turns her hand over and sees that the radiation is starting to affect her and presumably Culber and Saru as well. So the clock is still ticking here.
Yeah, she scares him off basically by, trying to get a little bit too clever and says, hey, so is there a way to turn off this whole thing? Can we reset the button on this whole thing? And Su'Kal, that's too much for Su'Kal. He's like, no, why would you do that? That's a terrible idea. I don't like this program. I'm getting out of here. So he unfortunately gets scared off.
Yeah. During this little questioning sequence, we do get to know that the holodeck program is destabilizing further. The Kelpian, Su'Kal, we don't learn his name until the next part, where Saru is interacting with the village elder, but Su'Kal actually remembers harvesting kelp in water and enjoying the smells, and says the harvesting environment is no longer functional. So we know that things are falling apart. The walls are closing in, the clock is ticking down.
Yeah, it's not clear exactly how much time he had, but it seems like he had a pretty substantial time with a relatively normal existence inside this environment before it started breaking down past the point of functionality. Interesting, I don't know if we'll ever know the answer, how many years he had of relatively normal upbringing, but it's interesting to see that he's regressed to such a childlike state, given that he probably had at least a little while of being raised as intended, and probably developed more or less normally.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember, but when they meet up with the Vulcan, he actually says that the child has been waiting for rescue. What is it? For almost 125 years, and then he counts down like the months, the days, and the hours. Yeah. So he's been alone. This child's been alone, presumably for this whole time. Whether he had Dr. Isa with him for some time, whether there were other Kelpians alive on the ship who had ultimately passed. Presumably, when the ship crashed, that's when they got down to the business of building this holographic environment. I guess his memories prior to being in here don't seem to be present or don't seem to be accessible to him right now. She asks him whether he remembers anything before being in there. Right. And, to be fair, it was 125 years ago. It's probably pretty hard, and he would have been extremely young. It's not a hard thing to imagine that even if he was alive before being put in this environment, he wouldn't remember much or anything of it. Exactly. Meanwhile, Saru and Culber, as they are, exploring and searching for the Kelpian, they actually come across the part of the program where there's a Kelpian elder, right? And this gentleman we've come to learn through Saru that the elders pass along the history via stories, paintings, and we see this painting of a group of Kelpians, and it's signed Sukal, which Saru says, oh, this must be the child's name. And it means, in our language, beloved gift, which is a name that we traditionally give to the first child in a family that has suffered a great tragedy, to symbolize the end of that tragedy, the end of that suffering. So I have to wonder, okay, this child, Sukal, beloved gift, great tragedy. Is it the crash? Is it the burn? There's so many unanswered questions here.
At least in the context of Dr. Isa was pregnant when she sent that message. Right. I would imagine that she was giving birth under circumstances where most, if not all, of the crew were succumbing to radiation by that point. It was probably a pretty grim situation into which this child was born. But it also gives us a holiday episode titled Beloved Gift, so that's nice.
We received the gift. They try to question this hologram of the village elder about where the child might be, where Sukal might be, but it's only programmed to teach the Kelpian and Baul traditions, right, and to provide some kind of support. So Culber notices that Saru also has these burns on his hand, and hey, listen, we gotta complete this mission. We need to find the child. We need to get out of here. We need to save ourselves. We gotta get the anti-radiation medicine. So the elder tells them that there is this fortress that Sukal will go to when he's afraid, and Culber immediately sets out to find it, while Captain Saru kind of stays behind a little bit, and the elder sings to him a lullaby.
And Saru listens to this Kelpian lullaby. It's a lovely sequence.
Yeah, and it struck me because Saru has not been home yet. He has not gone back to Kaminar. He has not seen his home planet. He left it behind. So for all intents and purposes, he is alone in the universe. And now he has, even though it's a holographic program, there's an elder who was deliberately programmed to do exactly this, right? So he feels at home. There's a moment. And this speaks to earlier in the episode when Michael and Book were talking about, hey, can Saru make these hard calls? Can he be the captain that he needs to be? So this is where, even though I liked this moment individually, at the same time, I was having a hard time coming to grips with it, because Captain Picard would not do this. Captain Kirk wouldn't do this. They would see it for what it was and realize it's a surface level moment of happiness, and we have real problems that need to be tended to first.
I mean, I can see why you might think that, but I disagree. I think if he doesn't do this, he doesn't think to sing the lullaby to calm Sukal and save everyone at the end.
Well, you're right, and when you're right, you're right.
Which is, again, I think undercuts if they're trying to establish that, Saru is acting in a way that maybe he shouldn't be. It sort of undercuts that, because if he doesn't do this, then he can't calm Sukal down later. So what are we trying to say about Saru?
Oh man, I think we're trying to say a lot of things.
Yeah. But not only does he listen to this lullaby, he learns about the monster. He learns from this book of fables and history that the elder has, that he teaches out of to Sukal. The monster, the holographic monster that's been wandering around, comes from this Kelpian children's story about this monster is essentially, this manifestation of his fears and his inability to face them. And we learned that from the elder that Sukal has to face this monster, has to face his fears in order for him or any of them to end the program. Like that's what this program is designed essentially to. It seems like to test Sukal, and Sukal has to pass the test in order for the program to end.
Right. And in the meantime, this program is falling apart. It's decaying to a point where, it feels like the nightmares are coming to life. So I'm sure that, when they programmed it, this monster was supposed to not really be so terrifying as it is.
Right. I'm sure, that's the whole thing. Nothing in this environment is supposed to actually be harmful to him.
Right.
It's just supposed to allow him to grow and learn.
Right. And inside the elder's book, Saru sees that the same image of these little structures that Sukal has been building throughout the holographic program. So they're these little icons that are supposed to ward off the evil monster.
Yeah, exactly. These little totems that we've seen evidence of Sukal building are to ward off this monster, and it seems the implication that I take from it is that Sukal is doing this rather than facing the monster, and that's why the monster is continuing to torment him, because he's yet to face it after all this time.
So back on board the Discovery, you have Book, you have Tilly, and they are trying to figure out, hey, how the heck did Osira find us? And I gotta tell you, I think I have the answer. Because while Oo says, hey, they must have been tracking our spore jumps, and, she wants the spore drive, and it's part of her plan to capture the ship. If you recall, Book had a little emerald chain doohickey. And I think that really might have been an actual plant, a trap of some kind that led Osira to the Discovery. And Admiral Vance was super right not to trust it. That's my theory.
It certainly could have been. They'd say that they scanned it for tracking devices, but who the heck knows? And I really hope that if that's the case, if that's the thing that allowed Osira to track them, I hope they're not setting up some sort of blowback for Saru. Come on. Like we talked about during that episode, Saru wasn't even involved in that decision.
Exactly. I mean, it could be leading to speak to his inability to command and really think things through, but I don't know if it's going to go that way.
Yeah, I certainly hope not. But yeah, Stamets says it's going to be 30 minutes till they can jump back into the nebula, just in time for Osira to hail them.
Yeah.
Tilly handles Osira like a boss. I really love this scene.
Boss.
Yeah, we really get to see that Captain Killy come out a bit. Really thought she handled this well. Love to see that color on Tilly.
Agreed. I think personally that the red hair would go well with the command gold, if you ask me.
Absolutely. I don't disagree that they want to establish that Tilly can handle this job, and I think it's realistic that they've given her some believable mistakes to make.
Sure. There's a fun little, back and forth here between Osira and Tilly. They're definitely staring each other down. Discovery shields, they're still not back up yet. They're only at, half strength. And, they're getting ready to jump away. She cannot allow the Discovery to fall into Osira's hands. And Stamets at the same time, he said, we cannot abandon the away team. So Osira correctly deduces that Tilly is hanging around for a very specific reason.
Yeah, exactly. She recognizes that there are people down there that Tilly is waiting around to rescue, essentially.
Because why else would Tilly just be hanging out?
Yeah, exactly. And back on the planet, we see Su'Kal has carefully constructed another stone totem to ward off the monster now. And we hear the monster speak for the first time. It says, "See me." A couple of times. It insists, it demands that Su'Kal see him. Su'Kal doesn't want to meet its eyes, doesn't want to confront this monster as he must. And he shouts, "No, no, no," and refuses to face his fear. And when he shouts, this shockwave blasts out from his mouth, and that, blasts out, even out past the nebula, causing the ships in orbit to temporarily decloak. Meaning that Osira now knows exactly where Discovery is, raising the question of why Discovery didn't move after they cloaked. It's just again, I can believe this is a mistake that Tilly would make. That doesn't mean it's not a frustrating mistake to see.
Absolutely. And, it also calls into question a little bit the rest of the crew for not suggesting anything. Like maybe, hey, I don't want to step on Tilly's shoes. It's her first command. But at the same time, you've got these experienced officers on the bridge for a reason.
Like, what's the point of cloaking if you're gonna stay in the exact same location? Like, what are you, like, even if she had moved a little bit out of range, like, forget other side of the nebula, just a little bit farther, the whole plan of Osiris falls apart.
Yeah. And, not for nothing, they do drop the line earlier where Tilly says, take all the power you need to get the shields back up. But, what's that going to matter if your ship isn't even there anymore?
Right, exactly. The whole tactical situation was a bit of a clusterfuck on her part, but she's literally never done this before. So
yes, as a result of this big blast as well, this big giant, whatever it is that Su'Kal shouts, the dilithium is being destabilized.
Yeah, we found the cause of the burn, apparently.
So it's Su'Kal.
Somehow, Su'Kal has caused the burn.
Yeah, let's come back to this. So you've got, at the same time all this is going down, Stamets says, no, we have to rescue the away team. Adira and Gray look at each other, and they grab Jet Reno's badge. They have a plan, but they need the badge. So Reno gives up her badge, presumably, and Adira and Gray kind of they go with Book, actually, because Book says, hey, I'm going to go retrieve the team on my ship. You guys are dealing with this. I have a ship. Let me go help. So
yeah, we learned that the plan was apparently to sneak aboard Book's ship.
Yeah, so, plan has successfully been accomplished, right?
Yeah. Tilly's telling Stamets to prepare to jump. Book is volunteering to go after the away team in the meantime. And then we cut back to the fortress where Saru calms Su'Kal with Kelpian lullaby. And the calming effect of that lullaby causes the shock wave that's coming out of Su'Kal's mouth to stop, to subside. And Su'Kal retreats after they do.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a surprise moment. Well, this is where Su'Kal just kind of leaves the episode at this point, because now now we're on to the last final portion of the episode where we have to contend with Osira. And Saru is surprised that Su'Kal just kind of left.
Yeah, but they don't have much time to react before we're back on the ship where Tilly is informing Osira that she will never take Disco or the jump drive. But that rascal Osira, she goes ahead and takes it anyway.
She does.
She beams agents right into the spore cube, which is pretty cool. And then sure enough, those tentacles we talked about, that we saw in the lower decks finale, they fly out of Osira's ship and they grapple Disco, and more troops beam over. This takeover is very efficient. And
yeah, it's almost instantaneous. Like, they know exactly where the entire crew is. They know exactly where the spore cube is. This is why I am suggesting that the little doohickey that Book installed inside is the reason why Osira knew how to take over the ship so quickly, because it's so efficient and it happens in the blink of an eye that you had to have some kind of insider intel.
Yeah, one would imagine, or could imagine that was the case. Back down on the planet, Michael and the gang are realizing that Su'Kal somehow caused the burn. Culber says something about his body adapting to the radioactive environment in utero. That's really the only explanation we get for now. I hope there's a little bit more on that next week. I can't imagine there won't be. Yeah, Saru at first is like, Michael, you got to stay. I got to get back to the ship because Osiris here. And then Michael convinces Saru that actually he's the Kelpian and he's the only one who's managed to calm down Sakal. So he needs to stay because if Sakal starts screaming again, Saru's the only one that can stop the apocalypse.
It's a little clever because earlier on you have all this subversion with Michael suggesting to Book like, oh, can Saru make the hard call? And right here, Captain Saru is, no, I need to go take care of my ship. I need to take care of my crew. Like, his heart is all about Discovery and the Federation of Starfleet. And, his immediate reaction is, let me go to them first. So here you have Burnham who says, no, flip side, I go, you stay. And I can't help but think, and I really hope it's not going to go that way, that this isn't some kind of like master plan that she has to get back to the Discovery and prove that she's the better captain. I hope that's not where this is going.
I can't imagine that that's the angle she's working. I don't think she's working an angle at all. I don't know what the writers of this season at large have in mind for her character.
Sure,
I'm a little more concerned about what their machinations are than I am about Michael's. I really liked this scene right up until the very end, where Michael was saying that Saru's emotions have affected his decision, which again, have they really?
So
and
rich.
Coming from Michael, it's a bit rich. I would have liked even like a little line Michael could have said, like, I should know. Something like a little bit, of a acknowledgement that, like, yes, I know this is a little bit rich coming from me, but I'm the one who should know above anyone else what that looks like. I know that color on people. I know it very well, and I can tell you from experience.
Prescription products require completion of an online medication consultation with an independent healthcare provider through the LifeMD platform and are only available if prescribed. Subscription required. Individual results may vary. Additional restrictions apply at lifemd.com. Read all warnings before using GLP-1s. Side effects may include a risk of thyroid C-cell tumors. Do not use GLP-1s if you or your family have a history of thyroid cancer.
If you've struggled for years to lose weight and have given up hope, did you know you can now access GLP-1 prescription medications through LifeMD? LifeMD is now offering eligible patients online access to GLP-1s, the breakthrough prescription medication that can help you lose body fat and weight. Listen to what people are saying.
You just take your shot. It doesn't feel like you're on a diet. What I wasn't expecting it to do was to shut off the food noise. This was life-altering, and if I can do it, I feel like anybody can do it.
And here's the best part. Your insurance may cover 100% of the cost of your medication. So go to TryLifeMD.com to have your eligibility checked right now. Get started today at TryLifeMD.com. That's TryLifeMD.com.
Doesn't work out well. If they'd taken like that angle with it, I would have liked this a little bit better.
Yeah, and not for nothing, but there have been so many meta references towards Michael's character that would have landed so perfectly as a way of, instead of an external character telling Michael, like, this is how you act, could have been her saying, hey, listen, I should know, it's how I act.
Yeah, this is something I've discovered about myself.
Right.
I'm going to inform you in a way that's beneficial. Yeah.
Right.
Culber elects to stay with Saru too.
Yeah, he does. And it's smart because he says, hey, listen, I know what it's like to be alone in a world that doesn't make sense. And, bravo. Like, that's Culber's job. Like, he has fit into this role so well of being so knowledgeable about feeling out of place and, without purpose in the universe. So bravo. I enjoyed that. Culber staying behind, give him some action. The stakes are high because Burnham says, hey, listen, I'm going to come back for the both of you. Culber turns and says, hey, listen, if more than a day passes, there's no point.
Yeah. It also makes sense because he's the only medical personnel on the entire ship now, and the captain's there. So, of course, he's going to stay with the captain.
Yeah. I mean, McCoy would stay with Kirk.
McCoy would for sure stay with every one of the medical officers we've seen in every one of the series would make this decision. But it nevertheless makes sense, too, for Culber's journey.
Exactly. So, Book, he's on the ship. There's Adira. He's surprised. And Adira says, hey, I am going to beam down to deliver this medication so that they can survive until the Discovery gets back and we can beam them away.
Yeah, I'm telling you, not asking you.
Right, and blink and you miss it, because I thought about this during the first watch through, and all the meds and the phasers and tricorders, their badges disappeared when they beamed down. They were masked. But here, Adira pops the medicine into their mouth to beam down. So, quick little, it's a visual thing that blink and you miss it. But it's a nice way to kind of flip the page a little bit.
Yeah. And then finally, back on Disco, Stamets gets this little mind control helmet puts on. Osyra beams to the bridge and takes the captain's chair for herself. And Book rescues Burnham, getting out of the nebula just in time to see Osyra and Discovery jump away to Federation headquarters.
Yes, presumably they are going directly to Federation headquarters because Starfleet is currently engaged over Kaminar, and there's no one to help now. So
yeah, and the coordinates have been a closely guarded secret, but they're already programmed into Disco's computer. So,
and the final scene we get is with Book and Burnham coming out of the nebula just in time to watch these two ships jump away.
Great way to end the episode. Really solid cliffhanger, and was, like the best cliffhanger episodes. The minute the episode ends, you go, no, I need more.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. I mean, you talk about two-parters. How come this isn't a part one of a two-parter?
Well, it basically is.
It basically
or it's part one of a three-parter. We don't even know. We might be headed for a three-part finale.
Three-part finale. Wow. So, what do you think about Su'Kal being the potential cause of the burn here?
I mean, like I said, I think we'll learn a little bit more next week. I mean, I hope we do. I would personally need to. For me, it's fine enough knowing that it doesn't have anything to do with Michael. To be perfectly honest.
Same.
But also on a meta level, Disco continues to be a show about feelings. And here we have a holographic monster that is a manifestation of not facing your fears and the ultimate, refusal to face those fears, refusal to face, sort of reality, results in this outpouring of emotion that gets manifest as this extreme destructive force that is felt throughout the galaxy.
Yeah.
It felt like this physical disastrous manifestation of unprocessed, emotional work.
I am wondering if somehow, however he adapted and his genetic sequence changed in utero, as Culver says, has somehow tied him into the harmonic frequencies.
I'm sure that's the in-universe explanation of what's going on. He's been altered in some way that, perhaps there's, like you said, he resonates on the same sort of frequency, and that's kind of what we're seeing there. Yeah, I'm sure. It was a little hand wavy, the in utero thing, but I hope they'll give it a little bit more screen time next week.
Yeah, I think we will, and I know
it's fine. Whatever the explanation is, it's fine. It didn't have anything to do with Michael, and it wasn't crazy. It wasn't something crazy stupid.
Yes.
There's probably a narrow set of explanations, maybe a non-existent one really, that would have satisfied literally everybody. I think it's an impossible task whenever you set yourself up for these sorts of situations. Mystery box storytelling is so difficult for that reason.
It really is.
So I think at least for right now, I'll say, yeah, it works for me. It's fine. I didn't have a problem with it. It leaves it leaves me with questions, which again, I think is good given that it's not a self-contained episode. It's going to be carried through into next week at least. So it's fine that I still have some questions, and in addition to our answer.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that we're dealing with a universe where you can slingshot around the sun to go back in time.
Yes, exactly. And I realize that we can't always fall back on look at the completely ridiculous thing that Next Gen or TOS or the movies did in this previous instance to, we can't hand wave away any kind of stupidity. Cause I think that's a slippery slope. But this
I think it's lazy
this,
thinking as well.
Yeah, this certainly doesn't. This certainly doesn't stink to high heaven. This wasn't like an explanation that made me roll my eyes. I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. I can't wait to learn a little bit more about what's going on here.
I was getting into it a little bit on the Twitters about how Discovery kind of plays with all the different series of Star Trek, and Discovery really hones in on like a bit of the campiness and silliness that the original series has. It's really weird, like Voyager is, and it takes itself seriously like DS9 does, and it brings all of this in, and it's got the heart and soul of the Next Generation. Like, it's just a really good show that kind of encompasses all that has come before. So this kind of weird space magic-y type thing, I'm perfectly fine with it. It tracks well. It's reasonable. I would like to see more about how this lullaby plays into things, because everyone has heard this lullaby. And I want to know more about that. Is it a little bit too much like Battlestar Galactica with the music? Yeah, it could be. Could be. But at the same time, it's unique, it's interesting, and as a musician myself, music is the language of the universe.
Yeah, and they tie the explanation, or seem to be tying the explanation in a way that continues to drive home theme for the show, and that works for me. Like this is a disaster. This is an explanation that is, again, this is a physical manifestation of what happens when you don't process grief and trauma, and I like that. It fits for me with a theme of the show. So yeah, I'm completely okay with the with the cause of the burn so far.
Well, I mean, hey, hopefully next week's episode is going to give us a lot more. Well, it is going to give us a lot more, right? Like,
yeah,
that's
it has to give us,
because we got 2 episodes left. Yeah.
Right. Other sort of notes for the episode that I had, which this is going to be really nitpicky, but it's because this is, I think, one of the best episodes of the season. The pacing was so great, and so much of the writing worked, that some of these like little nits that I'm going to pick didn't even occur to me on the first watch. I was just swept along for the ride, but I'm a little unclear about the shield situation and the nebula. Like, it was never really clear to me, unless I missed something, why they had to be at 100% shields to re-enter the nebula. They're not flying in, they're jumping in. Just long enough to beam the away team out, and then they can jump right back out. We know that Disco can execute multiple jumps in quick succession, and we just saw them in there with less than 30% shield, and they were fine. So once they're back above 40, or certainly 50, I don't understand why they can't just jump in, beam out, jump out. If the shields had gone down or been taken down to make repairs go faster, that would have been a really simple fix to this. But we have this scene where multiple shield generators are down, so that's fine. But then OO says that the shields are at 40%. So which is it? Are the shields down, or are they at 40%? And you can still presumably do anything you were doing while the shields were at 40% before.
Right.
Be above the planet.
It does seem to be a little MacGuffin-y there.
It's annoying because it's something that could have just been done away with a line of technobabble, or have Tilly make a command decision to take the shields offline so that the repairs can be done more quickly, or anything. You could have done just a little bit of a tweak, could have made the stakes a little bit clearer there. Other than that muddiness, the plot of this episode was fantastic. I thought everything really worked well. This was I'm gonna give this episode a 9 out of 10. The little things that didn't work for me didn't pull me out of the episode. They were only really things that occurred to me when thinking about it more deeply and watching it again. Yeah, I think it's safe to say this was the best executed episode so far this season.
Yeah,
for me at least. Yeah.
Yeah, not only that, but I think it's one of the best executed episodes of the series so far.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'll go as far and say that.
That makes sense, given that we've generally considered this season to be a step above the last 2.
Yeah.
It makes sense that a standout episode in this season would be really standout episode for the whole series. Yeah, I completely agree with that. More of this, please. More of this pacing.
More of it, please. With that said, anything that really jumped at you? Any standout moments?
I really dug the scene with Tilly and Michael before she sits in the captain's chair for the first time. Like, yeah, it raises the question of whether Tilly should have been put in this position. Taking the con during a crisis for the very first time. But I think that she has a very realistic sense of like, oh my God, like I'm going to be sitting in this chair for the very first time, and everyone's going to be relying on me. And oh my God! And Michael just sits her down, gives her some practical advice from her own personal experience taking command for the first time, and it's a great continuation of their relationship together. It's one of the reasons why when Michael says to Saru at the end, don't worry, I'm going to go back to the ship. I'm going to make sure Tilly gets the help that she needs. Like, I'm not worried. If this is the kind of help that Michael's giving, then Tilly's going to be in good hands with Michael there, behind her. Of course, Michael doesn't get the chance to rejoin her because Osira jumps away with this guy. But their continued bond is a strength of the show.
Yes. It's a good friendship that has developed over time.
Yeah, and overall, the pacing of this episode was great. This episode moved at a clip that was the most satisfying of any episode of the series, I think.
For me, I absolutely loved when they first beamed onto the Kiev, onto the holodeck there, and they noticed that their appearances had changed, and Doug Jones walked up.
Yep.
That was so unexpected, cool. And when Saru walks up and he says, I can feel my heel touching the ground, I was just like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was really great. And how nice for him to not have to spend however long in the makeup chair for a couple of episodes.
He gets to show off those nice high cheekbones, that nice swept back hair a little bit. Good for him.
Yep.
I also liked Tilly and Osira, the little bit of back and forth.
Yes, Tilly actually sitting in the captain's chair and interacting with Osira was great. Like, she sounded like a captain. She sounded like someone who belonged in that chair, even if all of her decisions in the episode didn't end up being the best decisions. She certainly sounded like she belonged there.
I liked how Osira tries to dig under Tilly's skin, like, oh, you must feel like a fraud. And Tilly simply replies, well, that's the textbook definition of projecting. It was just a little bit of nice psychology aspect there.
Yeah, it doesn't work on her. Or if it does, she doesn't show it, which again that's a skill.
That's important.
And it's one that she executes quite well. If she's just putting on a strong front, good on her. She did a good job. And she doesn't back down in the face of Osira's obnoxiousness.
Did we get any emails, by the way?
I checked. We did not.
We did not get any emails. Okay, I think my friend Neil reached out and he's like, "Yeah, I want to talk about this." And I was like, "Cool, send me an email."
So let me double check. I checked yesterday. I did not check this morning.
All right, that's fair.
Let me just make sure that we did not, in fact, get something.
This is how I know that Neil is listening, because if he hears it, he'll text me and be like, "Hey, man."
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I emailed you. Nope, that is an empty inbox.
Oh, come on. All right. Well, folks, once again, if you want to have your email read aloud on the show, please hit us up at wearestarfleetwmtr@gmail.com.
Yes, that's wearestarfleetwmtr@gmail.com.
If you'd like to find us on the Instagrams or the Twitters, at Starfleet Pod.
Yeah, Mike, this is a good one. Thanks for chatting through it with me.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Thanks for joining on as always. This was a great episode. I have a good feeling that the next episode, which, by the way, the title has changed. Did you notice that?
I did not. I have not checked the title listings.
Yeah, so the title listing changed. It also changed for this one as well. So the actual episode title is Su'Kal, but when they originally announced it, it was The Citadel. So
this was The Citadel. I do remember there being an episode, The Citadel. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay.
So this upcoming episode was supposed to be called The Good of the People. It has since been revealed that the actual episode title is called There Is a Tide.
Okay.
So, directed by Jonathan Frakes, so we should expect... I
have high expectations.
Some serious stuff going down. There's going to be some great action sequences. I have been waiting for the Discovery to show itself off, and I've got a good feeling about this next episode.
Yeah, I want to see like full bore 32nd century like spaceship combat.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Give it to me now. Give it to me now.
Yeah.
Also, quick fun fact, it will be the 800th episode of Star Trek.
Nice. That's insane. Like really, when you think about it, like that's for a like there's nothing else like that. Obviously there are other properties out there that have huge cultural cachet, but in terms of the actual volume of output, that's extraordinary.
Right?
Is that including the movies?
Ooh.
And even if it isn't, that's extraordinary.
I think it's just TV episodes. I don't think that includes the movies, but I'll have to look into that. Yeah. Good stuff. Folks, if you are interested in hearing more about Star Trek in general, there's a couple of other shows on the We Made This Pod network. Make sure you check us out at WeMadeThisPod.com for more information. And in the meantime, Ian, I'll see you next week.
Yeah, talk to you next week, man. Have a good one.
Elsewhere on We Made This. Observing the Pattern, a Fringe podcast.
Yes, and it speaks a little bit to, Walter's mindset now, which is, this is his Peter now.
Yeah.
So.
That's interesting. And I think the line, what that line is trying to kind of put across is that there may be some behaviour or the way this Walter speaks that's different to alternate.
Right, and that was my thought too, like maybe just the subtle differences, young Peter notices those things, but it was just a weird way for young Peter to voice those thoughts, I thought.
Yeah.
So.
Pick a disc.
All of the songs, not thinking about I Write Sins, which like you said, I think everyone knows all the words to that song, whether they want to or not. But when, if I'm cleaning the kitchen or something and London Beacon comes on shuffle, like it amazes me, and we're coming up on 15 years from when that record came out, that I can just like belt out the words without even realizing that I have them like stored away somewhere in my brain. And I think that's because the song flows so well that it sticks with you.
Right in the childhood.
Bit of a twist, wasn't it? That I think we're going back to it again, but like everyone knew she was Kim Possible. It's like it would make sense as well because it wasn't like she was even wearing a disguise or anything, and like the whole school knew. But it was that thing of like she can save the day by night, but couldn't ask the boy out.
It's actually quite an original take. Even stuff like Buckley. Nobody knew she was the Slayer until much later on.
I'm glad they sort of got rid of that.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.
We Are Starfleet is a podcast dedicated to Star Trek Discovery and how it relates to the story, ethos, and canon of Star Trek. Join your host, Mike Slammer, as he sits down with guests from all over the world to talk disco. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Starfleet Pod. Follow for more Star Trek podcasts, such as The Sanctuary, a politics and economics of Star Trek pod, Rarely Going, a Star Trek Lower Decks podcast, and Make It So, a Star Trek Picard podcast. We Are Starfleet is produced as part of the We Made This network of podcasts. We Made This brings together popular culture podcasts around film, TV, music, and more that hopefully educate, excite, and don't take themselves too seriously. Check us out at www.wemadethispod.com. Original music composed and performed by Anthony Fuscaldo.